2, 1.
Grand Rising, Grand Rising. This is the Straight Talk Network, the Straight Talk Morning Show. My name is Andre Hill. I'm your host, and we have a co-host. I'm gonna call him Dr. Terrence, and chairman of the Aboriginal Nation, and also we have Andre Hill Jr., which is the co-host and engineer. He handles all of the electronics to keep us moving. How are you doing this morning, Chairman?
Grand Rising, everyone. I'm doing fine. Got a little problem. Arthritis acting up on my one hand. It's swollen up. I can't do anything, but I'm doing great. Thank you.
Well, that age is a trip.
Oh man, tell me about it.
Yeah, boy, it keeps. I get new, strange physical adjustments every day now. Them 70s, boy, they work on you. Hey, Andre Jr., how you doing this morning, man?
It's all good. It's all good.
So, how's the world looking from your generation's perspective? Yeah, I knew I threw your curve.
You always do, man. I don't know why you kind of show us that. But from what perspective?
Well, I don't know. You have to, you have to think about what's going on. I'm always curious how your generation see all of the adjustments and the changes that's going on in the world. And you said that, hey, we're fine, but always to get an update it will be helpful.
Oh, well, they'd like to stop paying bills. Is what they like to stop doing. That's pretty much where they at.
I got you. That's the order of the day. Then we'll roll with that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get into the show. First of all, I have to apologize. We ran across a beautiful sister on the West Coast, Dr. Nuseba, and we had dialogue with her in terms of dealing with relationships and these sort of things. And at the last minute, she opted out because of some of our ideologies dealing with extraterrestrials, the icon Lucifer, and basically, just telling it like it is somewhat of a conflict with her religious ideologies. The objective was to get her to come on and talk about it, which ties into the overall theme of how the reptilian entities are, or do they exist, and are they having an effect on us as a species and causing all of the divisions. I believe one of the divisions of divisive measures is with melanated women. They've manipulated them. So unfortunately, I really was looking forward to having her on, but she bowed out, because of religious conflicts. So let me go through the story. As we've written up, Dr. Nuseba Kayab will be on to expand the great rift between Aboriginal men and women. There is a new breed of Black women. Are they delusional? Also, how do we break the spell of reptilian, Luciferian, low-frequency ETs? Is this spell the culprit behind division in our species? Tune in and be enlightened. So let's. I think we can get started with the part of we have to fill it in. Now, I did call one of our backup hosts, guests, and hopefully they will tune in and give us some a female's perspective on what they see is going on wrong, how our women or how melanated women are being affected, because they were the primary focus of a Luciferian agenda or the Willie Lynch letter or white supremacy, whatever tag you want to put on evil. They were the primary beneficiaries of this divide and conquer routine. So I ran across a comedian talking about the new Black woman, and what they're looking for in a man. Hey man, if you can cue up that video of this comedian at 1:32 seconds. It's comedy, but it's art imitating life in terms of what he sees going on in the melanated community with our women. Let's see what he's talking about.
He said a minute and what?
1:32.
$2 million every 2 weeks, love to travel. He's a homebody. He communicate like a female. Make $2 million every 2 weeks, love to travel. He's a home.
It's a minute and 32. Go back how far?
Go back to 1:30. See that.
6'4", make $2 million every 2 weeks, love to travel. He's a.
Go back some more.
Yes. I thought I had it right at 1:32.
The guy they want ain't nowhere on this planet, but in their head. They be wanting the born again dope dealer. 6'4".
That far enough?
Just go back just 5 more seconds of this. I think that should capture it.
Fellas, these new batch, they don't listen to nobody. And they want men that don't exist nowhere in life but in their head. The guy they want ain't nowhere on this planet but in their head. They be wanting the born again dope dealer. 6'4", make $2 million every 2 weeks, love to travel. He's a homebody. He communicate like a female and he can lead her, but he can't tell her what to do. For real, if you find a woman who trying to, for real, be a wife and a partner, marry her. Because these women don't listen to nobody. It's been like that since the beginning of time. God was clear about what he didn't want Adam and Eve to do. That was the first sin. He told them. She was like, I mean, God, who do you think you are? You kind of controlling, ain't it? Don't touch what?
Okay, so when we take in consideration of art imitating life, I'm a closet comedian and I like good comedy. But usually a comedian is really telling a story and giving a candid view of reality and putting a twist on it to make you laugh. So this new breed of Black women is, from my perspective, is the result of 400, 500 years of the Willie Lynch letter, which is how to make a slave. And it gives us a kind of a view of what was passed down from mother to daughter, 5, 6 generations, if you calculate that right. And within that, that knowledge, information on how our women are going to survive, they had to mutate to deal with their environment of a slave master that was very brutal, and also that took away the manhood of the men in their life. It didn't matter whether it was their grandfather, their father, their uncle, their brothers, or their sons. They were stripped of their manhood by this abusive, racist system we know as the Willie Lynch letter. So what has happened over 500 years to our women? They were left unprotected, and their dependency on the male was stripped away and passed on to the slave master. So there was a series of things done, in the recommendation of the Willie Lynch letter. It says, teach these principles to your children so that they can improve upon them. So we've seen them go from the rape, the mutation of their men in front of them, beat them down, to all the way to the welfare programs, where we will give you these benefits as long as you don't have a man in your house, and that destroyed the family unit with a culture of people that needed the balance of a father and a mother. Those programs should have been redesigned to incorporate the male in there so that you would have a balance for the young boys and young girls to see what a man is, what he's supposed to be, and also what a woman is supposed to be. So 400 years of this sort of belligerent system of oppression has yielded this type of woman that the comedian was talking about. He's talking about, you know, they have moved into a mode of, you know, dressing up with the weaves, the eyelashes, the makeup, and they're starting to all become like clones. They're starting all to look alike because it's the same hairstyles, very similar hairstyles, and eyelashes and wigs, and dressing in a manner where they can attract different cultures of men for economic support. Now, this is not our people in its entirety, but I'm going to have to, Chairman, I'm gonna flip this one over to my son because, you know, he's dating these women, you know, and I wanted to get his opinion, you know, his reflection as to, well, was this comedian just trying to be funny, or was he telling the truth? So, and then Chairman, then you can give me your view from, you know, what he's saying. So, hey man, what do you think about what the comedian is saying?
Yeah, this is what I say quite frequently to my generation, men and women talking to them. Yeah, I think this is the only way I can answer this. For me, this is my opinion. I think men of my generation have to be very diligent on what we want from, or what we want from a woman, and everything else will fall in line once we figure that out. Because I don't think, because I'm speaking from experience, talking to most of my brothers, or you know what, not even my brothers. I take that, not my immediate circle, but most men in general. I don't think they really know what they want when they're searching for women. I find that I see that quite often. Take for instance, you know, the dating scene from my generation is kind of monolithic still today as it was 25 years ago. Now you remember me, you know, that you see, I don't really go to the club like I used to. Reason why is because I was going to the teen clubs back when I was about 15 years old. So my point is I got used to that, but what I learned very early is, you know, the dating scene is, you know, in an American side is very superficial, right? You know, it's, you meet, I mean, you communalize in an arbitrary setting with a group of people that you do not know very well. In other words, you don't know their religious background, you don't know their family history, you don't know their you don't know their intellect level. You don't know nothing about these people that you probably in the midst of about 100 of them. But what that type of club setting represents the dating scene for my entire generation. And so men go to these hunting grounds looking for, you know, for some kind of analogy, they're looking for their prey, and you know, that's kind of what's the word, as ineffective. In other words, let's look at it on the other end. And again, this is not a boast or a brag, but this is, you know, how I search for women in contrast to what the comedian is talking about. So when I search for a woman, I'm searching for her first. What is her spirituality like? First, that's first and foremost to me. That's going to filter out I'm gonna put everyone through that filter first, right? Then what is a cultural mentality next? Once I put them through those two filters, then I have a pretty good idea on who I'm dealing with. So I already got an understanding on what type of guy she probably has in her head, which is probably me. It's probably me in most cases. So saying all of that to say this, is what he's saying correct in general? Yeah. But is there a science and a technique behind wading through all of the waters to get past the bumps in the road of the 2020s dating scene? Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely it is. So that's my response to it.
All right, so Chairman, the man said that they're looking for men 6'4", born again Christian dope dealer, making $2 million a week. Hey, what's your take on that? You have you heard of such?
I've never heard it that way, speaking that way, but I think we've been programmed in our society to be a certain way as far as men and women. Men were programmed in school, take shop classes, machine shop, do all these masculine so-called things, and women, home economics, sewing, and things of that nature. And that doesn't work in our society today because we found out by giving women opportunity, they can do some things better than we can, you know. And first of all, we got to recognize that we're all spiritual beings, you know, that we must have respect for every living soul. That is very important. And then when you think about getting involved in a relationship, you got to have that respect of, you know, giving a person an opportunity to express their self, what their desires are, you know. All women don't have the same desires, as well as all men don't have the same desires. It was at one time thought of like a nurse was a woman's job, a doctor was a man's job, but we know that that was a fallacy because of the simple fact some women doctors do a better job than male doctors. You know, so it's time to open up our minds and recognize that we're in a different age. We're in a different era today. You know, we're looking for people that can get the job done. It's like with our situation politically, we got Kamala Harris is going to be our next president, and she's setting a precedent. She's going to be a female president. Well, about 15 years ago, I had a download that there was going to be a woman president, and I said it was going to be Oprah Winfrey. And I wrote this down. I did some writing, must have been 2 or 3 pages. And like I say, that was 15 years ago. And that was at a time where you better not even think about a woman being a president. I think Shirley Chisholm, she tried to run, but she just was nowhere near even getting in that position. But what I'm trying to say is that it's a change. It's a change coming. And now, you know, we have to open our minds and realize that let the best person fulfill that position because it could take us all to another level. You know, I don't care in a sense if it was a monkey telling me something. If I got common sense and that monkey's telling me something that relates to common sense, I should listen. It don't mean that I got to do, but at least listen, you know. So what we're going through today is very unique because we got social media, people getting a chance to express themselves and give their philosophy and ideology of how things should be, where before most females didn't even have an opportunity to express themselves. You know, they were sort of like kept in the closet in a sense, you know. But I hope I sort of answered that question, because that's a deep question. But like I say, you know, it's all about the best person for the position. And to be a president, it don't mean male or female. It means who's qualified to take us to another level. I'll land that plane.
All right, so we are in a dilemma as a species, because if you think about it, we are a heterosexual culture where I believe, and this is my opinion, that man mutated from woman. Because I always ask the question, why we got nipples? and the woman they have both X's in their chromosomes. We got an X and a Y, which means part of that chromosome broke off through the mutation process. And I believe that part that broke off was the ability to bear children. Well, you know, one female over millions of years, based on this heterosexual bipedal ape-like species, one went out into the field and hunted and defended the camp. You know, they fought, so they mutated and developed more brawn, and even their organs became external. And there's scientific proof of that in the hyena. The strong alpha female, her sexual organs in some cases have become external. And so, you know, what caused that animal to mutate like that? You know, did we go through a similar process? But the question is, in this heterosexual state that we're in right now, we were interfered with a challenging species, and in some cases, that's why we're doing this take on a reptilian. You know, because I think Lou Gossett did a movie a long time ago, Enemy Mine, where he was playing this reptilian and he was able to give birth. So he was an asexual being. And they were trying to tell us what the mutation process over a million years was all about. But, you know, so this particular DNA structure, the heterosexual being, we leveled out. And with the influence of external forces that wanted to control us, it had to take away the power of the males, because the male was the defender of the tribe, the camp. And so if you're gonna conquer a species, you take the male out. And so, and the continued oppression was to suppress that male and take away his natural purpose. And so that's now taking us in the direction of a homosexual design, where men aren't really men. You know, they've become weakened. They have been taught to be strong physically but weak in mind. So we've gone through a number of mutations in this societal development. And so what do we do? Do we stay here? Do we admire or level off the influence of this external species that's oppressing us and return back to the natural order where we get involved in nature and the man goes out, he does the yard work, cut the trees and go hunt for food? You know, can we do that in these modern times with the technology? Or do we just keep on to the point where we become asexual again? You know, the women are just as strong and they start to mutate. You know, it's a crazy thing. We got another video of this woman. I think she's in Africa, Hey man, can you cue that one up? And she's explaining, the effects, and then we're gonna go into this Luciferian agenda to make a determination as to what's going on here.
That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
He has made the women species rise up to greatness. Wanawake wako sawa. Wacha wakikwambia ati sijui bado mnatunyanyasa. Nini. Wanawake wako sawa. Pastor, let me tell you. Get a woman from this church. Tell her you need 2,000 shillings. She can get it to you from one women group or women fund or Uwezo fund or sijui what fund. Tell a man to get you 2,000 shillings. He has no fund to get it from. He must look for a job to get that money. The women have access to resources that men do not have. And people do not see that that is a strategy to weaken the voice and the authority of the man, both in the family and in the nation. Are you aware the male species is under attack? Are you aware? Hello? Hello? Do you know why? Because when the male species is neutralized and the father figure is neutralized, you will never be able to relate to God as your father because you've never understood the context in reality. Is somebody hearing me? So the devil has come out full swing. Today, he has made the women species rise up to greatness. Wanawake wako sawa. Wacha wakikwambia ati sijui bado mnatunyanyasa. Nini. Wanawake wako sawa. Pastor, let me tell you. Get a woman from this church. Tell her you need 2,000 shillings. She can get it to you from one women group or women fund or Uwezo fund or sijui what fund. Tell a man to get you 2,000 shillings. He has no funds to get it from. He must look for a job to get that money. The women have access.
Okay, all right. So here's my point. Now we're getting back to the book, Lucifer's Revenge, and why we wrote this book. Because you got the religious perspective that saying that the devil is doing this intentionally to weaken the social construct that we are accustomed to, a heterosexual construct. The Luciferian agenda has set up means of giving power to the woman. And I think we have to look at what is power to the woman. Is it really power, or is it a divisive measure to conquer us as a species? Because I look at my mother. She was a strong woman. She was powerful. I mean, she had influence, but she also knew that my father, he was a country boy. He had no problems going out, painting the house, cutting the wood, working on the cars, and doing all those particular things. And she respected that. She had a college degree. He had a 6th grade education, but she respected, what the man brought to the equation. So now with artificial intelligence coming in, and taking over, his brawn is no longer needed, because now we move in a direction where we can get robots to do that. We got robots to fight wars to protect us, and so all of this is all part of the evolutionary process. And what do we do? Do we stay here at the heterosexual level, or do we let AI, which I believe is being manipulated by external forces? This woman referred to it as the devil. We refer to it in our book as Lucifer, but we also know that this is a low frequency entity that was allowed to come to this planet and test us, because our ancestors, our guardians of the Most High, or the Supreme Being, looked at us as spoiled children, and we needed our ass whooped, to bring us in line so we could start respecting and loving each other. This is why go to lucifersrevenge.net and get a copy of our book, Guide for the 144,000, and it'll put all this in perspective, but without the metaphor. It talks about some of the original history. But but Chairman, do you see what this woman is saying? You see she's using the content of the devil, and is manipulating our society. And do you feel that that's the effect, or this is just part of the natural evolution of what we're going through?
No, I kind of feel partial that it's what we're going through, but yet, the manipulation is man's doing. It's not Lucifer or the devil. It's man trying to stay above society so he could regulate, control, and make things go in his favor. That's why in a so-called democratic society, it's not based on gender, it's based on people, majority rule. So it's up to us to come together and make things right. It's like making money. When money first came on the market, only a few people had it because the people that had it are the ones that made it and created it. Then they started distributing it. But right now, it's then got so far out of control. Some way we've got to have a guaranteed annual income for every living soul. And then that minimum can go to a maximum or as far as you want to take it, because it's all for the benefit of humanity. But everybody's got to have a part of it because we're all God's children. And the biggest problem is right now, it's just not fair. It's too much corruption in our society. So we can't blame the devil for everything because man is the devil. Some women are the devil, but the ideal is, do the right thing and everything will work out because God had this plan. I should say the creator had this plan in the beginning before the creator created people. There's a way out of this, which we're all going to have a way out. But the ideal is, have no fear, just come together and everything can be heavenly on earth if we make it that way. Other than that, you're going to continue to have hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, and all these things. It's just a part of nature. Man is a part of nature. But like I say, the creator being as creative as the creator is, it's got a way for us. We can grow to unimaginable limits. I'll land that plane.
All right, that plane is landed. So Chairman, you don't believe that, like Flip Wilson used to say back in the 60s, the devil made me do
it. No, that was just a little boy speaking when they done something wrong. The devil made me do it. That's an excuse so we wouldn't get that butt whooped,
Oh yeah. All right, we got to go to my son's generation. Hey man, did the devil make us do it, or is it some reptilians that wants to control our society? They're feeding off of us, and they'll do anything to keep us in control until we wake up. What do you think?
Yeah, I do think there's a very prevalent parasitic force, which could include the reptilians, right? Which could include them, but the parasitic regime that comes with the time that we in, the window, the experience capacity of the time or the season that we in, I'd say, has a very strong suggestive, reasoning. Very suggestive. Can't make us do nothing. Can't make us do nothing, but very strong reasoning. And what are they suggesting? They are suggesting that we engage in acts among one another that cause the most quote unquote low vibrational emotions to stir up the most. And you know, we can go biblical kind of sort of with this one. The anger, the hate, the jealousy, the envy, even what is it, sloth, or any of the sins, any of the low vibrational stuff. Those parasitic entities want to feed and harvest that energy, feed off of and harvest that energy. So, yeah, so they want us to engage in it as much as possible, but no, can't make us do nothing. Can't make us do nothing, but can whisper in the ear, can tap on the shoulder, can nudge. But like Chairman said, I mean, we just got to keep a fairly high vibration most of the time. Most of the time, you know, the truth is, the universe, I would say, not necessarily the Most High Creator, but the universe, the most high consciousness, you know, which designed the universe. Universe wants to see all experiences, so that's why it even has a season capable of hosting that type of entity in the first place. Because you ask yourself, why would the Creator even create an entity as such? Or let's just ask, you know, the question that most people are asking Christians: why didn't God just kill the devil?
Free will.
That's the right. And then then they say because free will. And so then we have it, you know, saying that, asking that question and answering it from a different angle. Most High Creator created this universe, and the universe wants to live. It's a living body, a living being, just like everything else. It wants to live in totality, and so, you know, in its totality, it's got cycles. It has winter times, and, you know, in the galactic winter time or the earthly winter time, we're gonna have some situations where we're gonna be subject to some of those lower vibrational entities who also want to live, and so we're going to engage with them, and we're going to work it out. So, like, all right, so we went through, in other words, yeah, I got bit by 15 mosquitoes, 16 leeches, and then we got to ask ourselves, it's like, so that leech, they ain't do nothing but roll up on me and suck my blood. What is its purpose in the ecosystem? Even though it ain't doing nothing but annoy the crap out of me, but does it have a place somewhere in the ecosystem? Is its existence valid? Is its existence valid? And that's what we struggle with these parasitic entities all the time, whether they be reptilian, whether they be tall whites, whether they be some of our own human brothers and sisters on this planet. You know, we're trying to figure out, like, hey, you know, that thing you did to me, man, that made me feel some kind of way. And I'm just trying to figure out, you know, why you did it, and would you plan on doing that again? And if you do plan on doing that again, like, why you want to engage in that experience? But yeah. So I'll land it there.
All right. So, you know, there are other theories. If you can load up that reptilian tape, you know, and it's going to give us a perspective from a Caucasian male who did some of the 20 back experiences. I remember seeing him in other things. But let's see what he's talking about.
Globe, as well as in a huge area in Antarctica. The southeast region has a large number of underground caverns that are kept extremely warm, too warm for humans, by geothermal heat. It's a perfect place for all of these colonies that the reptilians have. They're basically cities, huge cities with millions of them. reptilians really came into control and started to be able to manipulate what was going on the face of the planet about 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. It is true that they have different masking technologies to be able to be in a room and look like a human, but usually they're in underground bases in various places on the globe, as well as in a huge area in Antarctica. The southeast region has a large number of underground caverns that are kept extremely warm, too warm for humans, by geothermal heat. It's a perfect place for all of these colonies that the reptilians have. They're basically cities, huge cities with millions of them.
Okay, so this guy, David Icke, I remember David Icke was born the same year I was, and in the United Kingdom, I think. And these guys have been talking about this reptilian species for quite some time. This is not new news. And the belief is that, reptilians exist throughout the universe, because when the cell emerged from the water, it went into 12 million different directions. Some of them went into the trees, some of them went out of the water and then went underground, different terrain, and the species mutated. But there's a belief that, during the dinosaur age, when the Galactic Council or the Supreme Being decided we're going to go with this humanoid design, the reptilians lost their bid to maintain the surface. And the only ones that were allowed to stay on the surface, because once again, the reptiles still contribute to the ecosystem. And along with all the other species on this planet from different parts of the universe, they all came together and say, we can create an ecosystem based on the diversion or the variations of what happened, how the cell mutated, how the amoeba went in so many different forms and developed. So there's a belief that the reptilians were, when the decision was made to go along with the present human design, a bipedal humanoid with an ape brain and a reptilian brain at the base, it was a mixture of both. And treaties were established and said, this is the design we're going to allow to operate on the surface. And the reptilians, based on popular belief, were forced to stay underground. But, once again, as their population expanded, and reptilians don't have any problem eating human meat, there's a belief that treaties were made with unscrupulous humans to sell out their own kind in exchange for technology. And so in order to maintain that control or manipulate the humans on the surface, it did these sort of things by empowering certain humans with technology that they may have gotten from outside interference. Even Lucifer and his crew was considered outside interference, and they may have taken refuge in the subterranean world. As a matter of fact, in our book, Lucifer's Revenge, it suggested that the Lucifer program got one of the reptilian beings that had been underground for hundreds of thousands or even millions of years, and their pineal gland calcified, and this is where the pale skin came from. And so what we're suggesting in the book Lucifer's Revenge is that this Luciferian agenda impregnated a melanated woman on the surface so that would allow them to start infiltrating the human race. So that's my belief. I think my son, he coordinated some of those ideas and thoughts when he dealt with the Enlil and Enki factor. But hey, why don't I let the co-host express themselves. Chairman, you were giving me a point of view on how you see the reptilians, how they play into the scheme of things.
Well, it's just been, I'd say 5 years ago, I started getting into that concept of reptilian. Before then, when I used to see pictures of what is this, that one creature that was in the water that came out, it looked like a reptilian, what's the name of that picture? I can't recall. I know some of the viewers that are watching this here know what I'm saying, but I always thought that was fictitious, that it wasn't real. But now, understanding the universe even more so, then reptilians do serve a purpose, and it's just to let us know that their existence, like you say, they want to live, so they're going to do whatever they can to maintain their existence. And if they have to manipulate society, they're going to do it, for their benefit, and that's what I think about when I look at things that relate to the reptilians. They're somewhere else in the universe that they were created and brought here to Earth. I don't know if they had that type of intelligence to do it on their own. It could have been our ancestry that were intelligent enough to bring them here to Earth, because we were brought here. But it's a lot to think about, and I cannot say that, that it doesn't exist. I say that if it does, we just gonna have to learn how to live in harmony with them, like we do with tigers, bears, dogs, cats, you name it. These are all different type of species. To me, a reptilian would be a little bit different species than a humanoid. Does that answer?
Hey, it sounds basic enough to me. My son and I co-authored this book, Lucifer's Revenge, a guide for the 144,000. And he gave a unique perspective with Enlil and Enki that was suspected to be part of the Anunnaki. And he has a unique view of understanding of how and if the reptilians came into play. Hey man, speak your mind.
So with the various reptilian cults around the ancient world and even up to today, in Asia, the Asians, we all know that they reference the dragon heavily,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Ancient India references the Nagas, which are kind of like half snake, half human people, or gods, right? Even ancient America referenced the winged serpent, the Kukulkan Khan, or the Amaru dragon. And so we've always had this reference of reptilians throughout the world. And even in Africa, we've got the Dogon tribe talking about beings from, actually extraterrestrial beings. Actually, there's two different African stories that talk about extraterrestrial reptilians, in contrast to the rest of the world don't necessarily call them extraterrestrial, but the African ones in particular say they came from somewhere else. There's a Zulu story of Wawani and Umpanku, and then you've got the Dogon tribe who talks about the Nomos. And then you have, what's his name? He's a more modern, he's way more modern. He's of our, let's say, our era. Dr. Friedel Mutwa, I think is his name. He talks about, in other words, he's like he's our version. When I say our, I mean melanated Black African version or counterpart of David Icke, right? He talks a lot about reptilians from an African perspective. But the probably the most prevalent and infiltrating reptilian story, but yet hidden reptilian story is the one that relates to all of our Abrahamic religions. And so I'm gonna make this short and sweet. So all of our Abrahamic religions are derivatives of ancient Babylonian and Sumerian culture and spirituality. And who are the deities of ancient Sumerian and Babylonian spirituality? The Anunnaki. Now, when you start looking at, let's say, spiritual systems from that time, everything was polytheistic. It was, in other words, there was families of gods. It wasn't just one. You know, things that become monotheistic. And interestingly, until one of the Anunnaki went into the land they now call Israel, and they said, "I'm going to be the only God there is." Interestingly enough. So, but this Anunnaki family, when you look at their story that talks about their family tree, it describes them as at least half reptilian. It describes them as at least half reptilian. The matriarch of their family tree is known as the Dragon Queen. And not only is she known as the Dragon Queen, she's capable of birthing dragons, among other things, but primarily dragons, or huge, fierce serpents. I think to put it politically correct, right? And so when I started looking at that, I said, okay, that's interesting. But what's even more interesting is in the same area where Sumer, the civilization that worshiped the Anunnaki, in that same area where Sumer was located, prior to that civilization, allegedly some archaeologists found some figurines and artifacts that depicted reptilian beings, reptilian humanoid beings, not necessarily mythological looking. They just look humanoid. They looked about as close to a real reptilian, in contrast to everything else we've seen from every other culture. And this is called the Ubaid Reptilians. Y'all want to Google it? It's called the UBAID Reptilians. So look it up. You tell me what you think looking at these figurines of these reptilian beings. Now, to me, you know, I try to apply some reasoning. You know, my thing is, what would make some people of that region at that time depict something so intricately like that? Unless that's what they saw, right? So, saying all of that to say this, you know, what my dad was asking me here is, as far as, you know, reptilian beings get access to the surface of this planet, and in reference to the video we just watched, what was a Caucasian boy's name? Corey Good is his name, who was talking about the reptilians in Antarctica. And when he said reptilians possibly showed up or got access to the surface of the planet about 7,000 years ago, interestingly, that lines up with when these the date of when let's say the carbon dating or the chronological dating of when these figurines were dated to. They were dated to about 6,000, 7,000, maybe 8,000 years ago. And so it's a very intriguing thing to, to consider. And just like Chairman said, what are we dealing with here? And if we are dealing with, a group of reptilians that are on the surface, we got two questions. All right, why y'all hiding out for one? And two, listen, we gonna deal with y'all the same way we got to deal with every other
species.
Well, I want to say wild animal, but let's just say different organism than us on this planet. Now, I don't know if that gives them any confidence in that. You see what I'm saying? That maybe, I think I just answered my question. That's probably why they hiding out. That's probably why they hiding out and handling us the way they're handling us. But no, but on a serious note, the notion has always been that since they allegedly have been here for a great amount of time, either on the surface or within the planet in different cabins, and they've had the ability to evolve very linearly, logically. They've got some good technology. They've got very intact social orders in their culture systems. They run a well-oiled and a tight ship, right? So my point is they're formidable enough to do what they do, which is allegedly hide in the shadows and then pull puppet strings from that position. But for what is the question? Why? The assumption is this, and this is the I know we cutting short on time, so let me hurry up and land this plane. So the assumption is this, and especially according to the Anunnaki story, or this is my professional opinion and interpretation. So according to the Anunnaki story, this dragon queen, I don't think she necessarily made it with another Anunnaki man who was also reptilian. I think she may have made it with a human man, possibly an African man in particular. And the reason I say this is because when you take a look at the children that they produced, they all look like African men. So even though the man doesn't have much of a description in their story, you can get a good idea of what he may look like based on how his children look. Right? I mean, just common sense, right? So especially his male children, because males around, regardless of the species, but in most species, the Y chromosome is relatively unchanged from generation to generation. It's about 99.9% the same. So in other words, the only reason me and my dad look different is because our mother gave us an X chromosome. The only reason we look different. Otherwise, we probably look like twins if men were just producing other men. So with that being said, but I believe this half reptilian family, which started propagating the beginnings of Abrahamic religion, and pushing it to the extremes and using the techniques and all of the strategies they use to get it across the world. My point is we start to get an understanding of what their agenda is. That. All right. So I know we're cutting short on time. You want to get the whole picture of that? Go get our book, Lucifer's Revenge, at www.lucifersrevenge.net. And we break it down. Me and Dad break, the entirety of it down in word form.
Hey, absolutely. You close it out the way I wanted. I think the reptilians, they stayed beneath the surface because there was a treaty established. Reptilians are cold-blooded in nature. I think that the extraterrestrials, when they decided on this humanoid body design, they get more entertainment from us than they would reptilians. Reptilians are pretty straightforward, pretty focused on survival. And so I believe a treaty, I believe that the decision to go with our type of design was made, and a treaty was established by the high frequency reptilians, and you know, they agreed to stay beneath the surface for a certain season, and if the humans didn't ever worked out their problems, then they can humans will forfeit their lease, and then the reptilians can take over. But that's my take on it. Go get the book if you want to know a better understanding of planet Earth and the universe, other than what was given to you by these European designs that was designed to edify them to be oppressors. You know, if you want a different perspective on how you're going to restructure your soul and prepare for this paradigm shift, go get a copy of the book. It's not expensive, $19 on Amazon, or go to lucifersrevenge.net. Chairman, how you, in your closing word, how can they get a copy of your book, and give us your closing thoughts?
Okay, to get a copy of my book, you go to Amazon and look up Terrence S. Lake, and it's there. You know, I think it's at Barnes and Noble also, and on my website, www.godschildren.biz. You know, you can get it there. And my closing thoughts is, I'm very thankful for the internet, because this show wouldn't be possible 30 years ago for us to come together and discuss topics on a universal level. And with man's technology, we should know everything about this planet Earth, because you can fly around this planet in 90 minutes, and it's happening every day as we speak. So things that are happening in the Antarctica or Arctica, you know, we should have a grip on, because this is our planet. You know, we can fight each other around the planet, but how come we can't go to one spot and clear up this mysterious situation about the Anunnaki, the reptilians, and anything else you want to bring to mind? But I'll land that plane, because, like I say, if it wasn't for the internet, we wouldn't be communicating as we're communicating right now. And it's a good thing.
Absolutely, Chairman. Hey, I just want to, remind people, the chairman and I, we don't have much time left on this planet, and we understand that we got to leave this planet in a better condition than what it is now, because just in case we have to come back here. So go out and get copies of our book. It helped us build an institution so we can start hiring the younger generations, giving them jobs in positions with our tribal situations, so that they can get out of this Luciferian hamster wheel, because they're not with it. They're not getting with it. It's not making sense to them, and that's the purpose. Go out and get a copy of our book. We'll buy 3 or 4 copies and order 3 or 4 copies and give them to some young melanated or Caucasian people, so that they can be informed what's going on this planet. And I land that plane, hand it over to the engineer to close us out.
One more thing. The title of my book is, for those that don't watch this program, God's Child. Thank you.
Yeah, go get a copy of Trevor's book as well. Support the mission. All right, family. It's been a Straight Talk Network show. I don't have anything else to say. I think it was a great show. All right. With that being said, family, we love y'all. Thank you for all the support. Peace out. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace out.
Conversation. Peace.